Hi guys, I'm going live here, and this is going to be where we're going to do our Saturday strategy sessions where we go a bit longer because Facebook isn't really the place for this. YouTube is more a better location. Today's talk is for those of you that are over the age of 50 who have what I would consider stubborn belly fat and health problems. Now, we're going to talk today about the sleep apnea situation and the connection to the belly fat. But before I do that, I have to say a disclaimer. I'm not your doctor and I'm not giving you medical advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult your doctor for any advice or changes to your medical routine. So let's first start off with the fact that I'm an elite health strategist and I help men that are over the age of 50 burn off the belly fat using the God-given gifts of the gears of your human body. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, you have to understand that I'm teaching you how to tap into the biomechanics of your body. And one of the most important things that your body needs to do is to be able to breathe. I think we can all agree that breathing is very important. So when you start to gain weight, typically you gain weight, your thought is you gain it around your belly. But the reality is you kind of gain it everywhere, but you're not going to notice it as much around your neck. And this is what I want you guys to focus on. I want you guys to take a tape measure around your neck. And if your neck measures more than 17 inches around your neck, then you have sleep apnea. Whether you've been diagnosed or not, it is a problem, meaning you have too much weight on your neck. So when you lie down to go to sleep, you start choking because of the compression of all that weight around your airway. When that happens, you're not going to get the oxygen that you should get at night while you're sleeping. So what's going to happen? You're going to have increased cortisol. That's the stress hormone. When that stress hormone is activated, you're going to lock away the fat in your belly. This is why people who don't get help for their sleep apnea end up having stubborn belly fat because of the fact that they're not solving the oxygen problem first. So what I want to do is talk to you guys about not focusing on the scale, which I've talked about before in other live podcasts that Cesar and I have done. And the reason you don't want to focus on the scale is because the scale is not going to let you know about the sleep apnea problem. So let's go back to the scale only at, let's say, maybe once a year. I mean, that would be possible, or maybe once every 3 months. And that's about it. The rest of the time, guys, you should be using the tape measure. So when you measure your neck, I want you to go a step further. Instead of just measuring in inches, I would like for you to consider measuring in millimeters. So this tape measure has inches on one side, millimeters on the other. Why are millimeters important? Because when it comes to your neck, guys, if you lose a millimeter or two from your neck, that's equivalent to losing a couple of inches from your belly, because this neck is so important for it to be slender so that you can breathe. And you have to agree, oxygen is much more important than anything else for the human body. And remember, your body's not stupid. So when you start to do something to help yourself get healthier, by maybe you start exercising or dieting, even though those are not what I recommend, but let's just say that you started an exercise program and you're getting frustrated because you're looking at the scale and you're saying, why is the scale not moving? Well, the reason is because your body's not stupid to take weight away. That is a measurement of gravity. Your body is built to survive and thrive. So your body is going to actually take the weight away from the neck so that you can breathe easier at night. Therefore, lowering your stress hormone of cortisol, when that lowers, then your belly fat will release itself so that you can burn that off at night while you're asleep, like we should. Because guys, none of you are, or at least I hope you're not, eating at 3 o'clock in the morning. You guys are asleep at night, and while you're asleep, the reason we don't die when we're asleep is because our liver will produce energy from the fat around our liver. And how many of you know already that you have a fatty liver, which is what's causing you guys a lot of disease? And if you don't know you have a fatty liver, I'll tell you another day how you can know based on your labs. But here's what we're going to go over. When you have a problem with breathing at night, your partner is usually the first one to know. Because why? You are annoying as all get out to sleep in the same room with, because your snoring is so loud, it will wake that partner of yours up. I have also remembered when I was a child, my father had sleep apnea. And remember, my father, who was always very fit and trim truck driver and senior Olympian and road bike cycling, he had sleep apnea even though he wasn't overweight. He had it because he had visceral fat, and visceral fat is not a healthy fat. So he would snore so loud that the door to my mom and dad's bedroom would vibrate, and I could hear that. So let's go back to your sleep apnea situation. If your sleep snoring is so bad that your partner is sleeping in another room, that's a clue already that you have a serious problem, especially if you're over the age of 50. The other would be is if you sleep alone, but you wake up and your throat is really dry, then that's another clue that you have sleep apnea. Another very common symptom is you wake up exhausted and you have to sleep during the day, or you eat a meal and after the meal you feel like you have to take a nap. That is all indications that you more than likely are not sleeping through the night with enough oxygen. So what do we do when it comes to sleep apnea? When I say we as in the medical field, most doctors will prescribe a patient a CPAP device. That is a device that they put something over their mouth. It has a tube. It goes to a machine that is plugged in, and it applies pressure, air pressure, to open up the airway while the person's asleep. Now, I want you guys to understand a CPAP device is not a cure for the problem. It's a tool that you're using while you're hopefully trying to reverse the cause of the problem. And this is important. I've had a lot of clients who've come into my program and they've been on sleep apnea devices for decades, and it's basically a part of their life. They've come to a point where they think that that's the way life is for the rest of their existence. No, it doesn't have to be that way. Actually, what should happen if you're doing things correctly, you should be able to reverse the fat that's here by doing certain things. And all on this channel. If you take a look at Goodbye Gut Over 50 and you go back to Facebook and you see Cesar and I on our podcast for the Tweak of the Week on Wednesday. And before we moved over to YouTube, we used to do the longer sessions on Saturday over there on Facebook. Every week we have been giving you the owner's manual to the human body so that you can start losing the fat where you need to lose it. So here's the important thing. I'm going to give you a quick rundown. The first thing you want to do when it comes to making something change for the positive is to measure it. So like I said in the beginning, you're going to measure your neck, and if it's 17 inches or more around the neck, you have a serious problem. Typically with a client, I can have them lose 2 inches in just a few months around their neck when they stop eating the inflammatory foods. Now that's a whole nother discussion. So for right now, what I'd like you to do is to hold off on that thought for that, because we're going to talk about that at the end. But I want you to look at your device. If your CPAP device is an automatic device or a static device, or actually I should say fixed, doctors will prescribe a CPAP device that is fixed in the amount of pressure that it's going to be putting out to open up your airway. It's not something that you can manipulate. And that's kind of unfortunate, because when you start to lose weight the way that you should around the neck, you won't need as much pressure. So what I want to go through is for those of you who have been able to lose weight and you find your CPAP device is now causing you problems, the reason is because you probably have way too much pressure on the airway that you don't need anymore because you've successfully lost some weight. So how do you know if that's going on? If you wake up super dry using your CPAP machine, or if your CPAP device is coming off at night, that means there's too much pressure. Now, unfortunately, if you have a device that is what they call fixed, meaning the doctor set the pressure and off you went and never told you that you need to adjust that pressure as you adjust in your fat loss, then you're going to end up having a lot of issues with your device. Now, there are doctors that are now prescribing the auto adjusting devices. So those are great because that will auto adjust. If you get thinner on your neck, you'll need less pressure. It makes sense, right? The less weight you have on your neck, the less pressure of air you need to be forced through your throat in order to keep you breathing at night. And as a matter of fact, you guys can take a look right now at your CPAP device. I'd like for you to turn it over, and I'm going to do a share of my screen. I'm going to pull up a photo of the thing that I want you to look at. So let me find that first before I share my screen. And this is what I want you guys to look for on your device. It will be underneath the bottom on the white label. So let me see if I can do this quickly here. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if we can open this up. Let's see if we can do this. There it is. Share my screen. Oh my gosh. Select a tab to share. I'll do the entire screen. Let's see if that works. Okay, so I'll share the screen. Let me see if I can do that there. Let me close off this. Let me pull this up. Okay, this is what you want to look at. It will say if it's fixed CPAP, it'll say the mode CPAP. If it is an automatic, meaning it'll auto adjust to the pressure that you need, you'll see the words auto CPAP or APAP on there. The other thing you can look for is where it says pressure. It'll say fixed and it'll say an amount. The other would be pressure as a range from 4 to 15, for instance. That means this will adjust for you. This is the kind of CPAP machine that you really want to have so that you don't run into airway problems of being super dry in the morning if you have successfully lost weight around your neck. So on that note, let me see if we can go back to where I was before on this. Or actually, I just realized I probably didn't share. Hang on a minute. Probably not sharing correctly. Okay, well, I apologize, guys, if I couldn't share that with you, but you get the idea. Just turn over your device, take a look and see if you see the words auto or if it says fixed. If it's fixed, then what you need to do is when you lose weight around your neck, you need to take your measurement around your neck to your doctor so your doctor can adjust your device accordingly. Now, the reason I know this is because one of my clients was actually a person whose job was to watch you guys sleep in a hospital situation overnight and take copious notes as to what was going on. And because that was his job, he also was the one who would set the CPAP device for how much pressure would come through it for that particular patient. So when he became a client of mine, he was coming in to lose his belly fat, and he knew how to manipulate his machine. Even though it was fixed, he knew how to get into the back end of that device and lower the pressure down as he was losing the weight around his neck. And that's something that unfortunately we couldn't do for the other members in the group because by law, the pressure that the doctor is prescribing is like a prescription drug prescription. So it's not our realm to change it. And that's why I have to impress upon you, don't try to fiddle with your machine. Tell your doctor what your neck measurement is so that your doctor can make the adjustment, especially if you've been having trouble with your device. And again, like I said, waking up with a dry mouth, or having the mask slip off quite often. So here's the other thing about CPAP, or I should say sleep apnea. A lot of people have their partners not only annoyed by the snoring, their partners are terrified that they stop breathing, because the partner notices that all of a sudden they stop breathing, and they completely stop breathing for sometimes up to a minute, and it just terrifies them. And I've had a lot of clients whose partners have said, I was terrified they weren't going to wake up. And it is a scary thing, but obviously the body's not stupid. It'll wake the person up by having them choke. And that's the choking noise that wakes up the partner. But the idea of it is that you guys have to realize you can't go on living like that. Yes, it's something that you can live with, but it's not high quality of life. You're going to end up depleting the amount of oxygen that your body needs in order to have your cells make energy. So this is the reason why a lot of men have a 3 p.m. slump the next day, because they just run out of energy. Or they wake up exhausted and they have to drink copious amounts of coffee or sugary drinks just to stay awake. So you see the vicious cycle that happens when you don't get a good night's sleep. So for today, I'd like for you guys to ask, if you have any questions regarding your CPAP device, put them in the comments below. And hopefully what I can do is answer them on the next Saturday session. And I apologize for today not knowing how to get this screen to work when it came to that CPAP picture. But when it comes down to it, here's the important thing for you guys to remember. Being able to breathe is one of the most integral parts of health. And being able to breathe at night while you're asleep is so key, because of the fact that that's when your body's going to take out the trash and rebuild. Everybody needs those two things to happen. And if you're not taking out the trash at night, or you're not rebuilding at night, then you're going to have a body that's not going to function as well into the future. So how do you make sure you start losing weight from the neck? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to stop consuming all these processed foods that are creating inflammation. And one of the things we talked about in the previous weeks was stop using spices that have chemicals in them. Stop eating food that has MSG, monosodium glutamate, in it, because that can cause inflammation besides causing migraines. Stop consuming food that has excessive amounts of sugar in it when it's supposed to be something savory. For instance, barbecue sauce. Barbecue sauce should taste really tasty and sweet, but not from sugar. Barbecue sauce sweetness should come from the fermentation of the barbecue sauce when it's made correctly. Yes, do most manufacturers of barbecue sauce want to make it profitable? Yes. And how do they do that? Well, they put sugar in it rather than waiting for the barbecue sauce to ferment to that sweet flavor. So think about what you're eating. Look at the labels. And if it's supposed to be something savory and not in the dessert category, and it has sugar in it, that's the first place you want to stop having sugar. Because I'm a foodie, I love dessert, and there's nobody that's going to tell me or my clients that they can't have dessert. Dessert should be at the end of your meal, after you've eaten protein, fiber, and Mother Nature's fat. Those are the three important key items when you eat. So when you look at your plate and you're going to eat something, pick out the protein. Hopefully it takes up most of the plate. Then pick out the fiber. Hopefully that takes up the second most amount of your plate. And the fat should be integrated within the food of the protein. For instance, if your protein is a ribeye steak, there's plenty of Mother Nature's fat in that. Or if the protein is eggs in the morning, that comes from, the fat will come from the yolk, which is very healthy for you, because that's how you transport vitamins too. You need fat to transport the vitamins. So when it comes to what I see on the internet, I'm going to be doing a video review of a guy who has millions of followers on his YouTube channel. His name is Guga. I don't know if you guys have seen him, but anyways, he has lost 100 pounds. The way he lost his weight, though, was by counting calories. He's done it the wrong way. Has he successfully lost weight? Yes. But I'm here to tell you, it's not the weight that you guys should be focused on. It needs to be a tape measurement around his belly. And I taught you guys this before, that the belly measurement needs to be no more than half your height in inches. But today, I just told you the neck measurement needs to be less than 17 inches. And if you aren't at those two measurements, your body is going to start breaking down on you if it hasn't already. So remember, the trifecta: protein, fiber, and fat first, then dessert last. The other thing, don't count calories. I'll get into that on my next video review. Then also, when you go to sleep at night, make sure if you're using the CPAP device, you're using it correctly and you have the right amount of pressure. And remember, tell your doctor what your neck measurement is, especially if it's changed. And I'm going to take a guess. I have a sinking feeling a lot of you have never even measured your neck. And I hope your doctor who prescribed your CPAP device did measure your neck. Who knows though? Comment below on that, and I'll see you on the next one when I do my reaction video to Guga losing 100 pounds on the next video. And also, I think he did a video on eating at Olive Garden, which I thought was interesting, which I'm going to do a reaction video on that too. Comment below if you have any questions, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.